Hey, good morning. So, I've got an interesting question for you this morning. Something that I've pondered on. I had a completely different message in mind, and then the Lord came and took over. And it was a good thing because there's a lesson I needed to learn there. And once again, guess who learned the lesson? And I'm pondering on this the whole time. And it's the question is, what do you do if it's not you? What do you do if it wasn't you? What do I do when I'm accused of stuff that wasn't me? What do I do if I if I feel like I'm not being treated fairly, yet the best is expected of me? If I get the short or end, the back end, the short straw, the scraps, yet I'm expected to perform the best. Because if you don't, then that will also be pointed out. What do I do? And as I'm sitting and I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking there's a lot of eyes in there. So a lot of eyes in those sentences. What do I do? And I feel with a lot of eyes over there, it drops almost straight into yesterday's message where as soon as you make it about yourself, self righteousness kicks in, self entitlement kicks in, self praise, thinking how good you are and how good you've been doing. That stuff kicks in. And then it's going to be very quickly to take offense because pride and ego is going to play a role there. Even if you're a person like me, I think God has destroyed pride and ego. And guess who got surprised? Oh man, you'll so quickly take offense. And I'm sitting and I'm just going through my mind about what I was talking about and under what kind of emotion I was in or I get into in these type of situations. And I realized, there's such missed opportunities there. How can I imitate Jesus if I'm being under these emotions of unnecessary selfishness? How can I imitate Jesus when I'm making it about me? Even in the toughest of times, Jesus didn't once make it about himself. And I want you to listen to this. Even though the entire Bible points to Jesus, it's over 300 prophecies that prophesied over him and that he will and what he will do and how things will be, and he fulfilled every single one of them. The number of the possibility of that happening is a number that I don't think any person can read. Based on studies that somebody, I'm not sure if it was UK or America, but a professor with all their students did, they took 8 or 16 in total, and the number isn't even readable. So over 300, it doesn't compute. But over 300 of these, and he fulfilled every single one of them, and not once did he make it about himself. He kept on pointing the finger to the Father, to the Lord our God. Even though there was places where he said, I am he. The Father and I are one. Jesus, the man form of God. But he still didn't make it about him, he made it about the Father. It was truly incredible when I sat there and I think and I thought about that this morning, but if you even think he knew exactly what it was that he needed to go through in the end. I mean, he knew it was going to be tough. He knew. He knew it so well that when he went to the Garden of Gethsemane, his sweat turned to blood, his tears turned to blood. I mean, that's a different level of anxiety and grief and I don't know, fear. I don't know what sort of emotions. I just know that Matthew and Mark speaks about sorrowful. He says Mark 24 verse 38. He says, then he said to them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch with me. The translations that I'm reading it in, at least, only speaks about being sorrowful. So that's grieving. That's grief. And we all know how tough grief can be. But if you are grieved to death, that's a different level of something. That is something that comes over you. And he went into that garden, and I just had to see. Luke 22 speaks, because Luke was a physician, so he will be more slightly medically inclined. Is that the right way to say it? When it comes to these things. And when he lied there and he said, Father, if it is your will, Luke 22, verse 42, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Jesus knew. And he was sitting in that garden and he said, Lord, let this thing go by me. I don't know if I can do it, but your will be done. If you saying I should do it, I will do it. Because your will, not mine. And all we going on about in our lives is nonsense little not being treated fairly. This had me so emotional that it's getting me there again. Sorry. So bear with me if I shed a few tears this morning. It's good that we just, Jesus did this for you, and he did it for me. He wanted it to pass. 3 times he went back into that garden and fought and prayed and pleaded with God and seeked God's will in the end. He said, Lord, if this thing can't go by me, your will be done. In that same part of Luke, it actually says that an angel came and strengthened him. So God will send you the strength that you need to do what you need to do. And I mean, that wasn't a lacquer thing Jesus had to do there. And there are often things in our lives which we need to do that aren't lacquer, that aren't enjoyable, that aren't fun. There's still fullness of joy in the Lord's presence. But we've got to tough through the toughest things as well. We need to get a little bit serious sometimes. But in those times, it still doesn't mean that God doesn't have your best interest at heart. It still doesn't mean that God doesn't want you to prosper. Of course he does. He wouldn't have made the promises if it's not what he wants for you. But remember, if you tough it out for Jesus, your reward will be great. The rewards aren't for this planet. It's not for this earth where we are now, in this lifetime of ours. This is a temporary life. That the fact that Jesus was the man version of God. He came to teach us how we can walk through things. He came to show us and teach us that a man can do it, that a man can tough it out, that a man can walk through everything and learn everything and teach people things. And a man can. There were so many times where God stepped in and fought for Jesus. A time earlier when they took him apart, when he they accused him of blasphemy. I think that was when he was in his own town. Yes, he was in the temple. And they accused him if he's saying that if he is God. And they took him aside. They wanted to go murder him then. He said, this isn't going to happen now. God fought them. God made something happen there. God makes things happen all the time, my friend. How can you hear and see of a man that does these great miraculous things, and we are called to imitate him? And he said, what I did, you will do bigger, better, greater things. I will send you the helper, the guidance counselor. And you will do better things, bigger things than I, he said. That's hitting me as I'm speaking, so apologies for the quick delays. But he came to show us, and the most important thing that he did is that he went on ahead and he died for us. Gave his life up for you and for me. Where in John 15:13 it says, there is no greater love than this, than for a man to lay down his life for his friends. And you know what the ultimate point is for me this morning? After Jesus had to endure that whole big thing of being martyred and crucified, he was innocent. So what do you do when it's not you? What did Jesus do when it wasn't him? He went to the cross for you because it was you, because it was me. When we react to when we react to things under the emotions that we get, when we get angry and we react, we're not focusing where we need to focus. The focus isn't on God and on Jesus and where it needs to be, and we miss opportunities. The opportunity being missed is the thing that hits me hardest this morning. An opportunity to minister to somebody, an opportunity to show the light of Jesus in seemingly unfair situations. Missed opportunity to keep imitating Christ until either the cup passes you or you finish drinking it. We miss those opportunities because we make it about us and we don't make it about Him. I've got such a long way to go and I've got so much to learn in life. I hope it's experience, and I mean, I'm not just referring to one instance in my life. There's been many a times. And it's funny that the harder I seem to try, the more these things come, and I make my mistakes. But I'm hoping that during this learning phase and learning these mistakes that happen, that something clicks in the mind, so automatically I'll realize it the next time, and I hope it's the same for you. Exodus 14 still says the Lord will fight for you when you only need to remain still. As long as you keep the focus on the Lord, keep shining His light, keep pointing the finger to Him, and walk in His will, the Lord will fight for you, my friend. Oh, He will fight for you. So I hope this is something that will get stuck in your mind for you just to remember, and for me just to remember the next time something happens where we feel we're being treated unfairly, or things are being thrown at us that isn't fair. It's not equal, it's not fair, we're not, that Jesus wasn't treated fairly either, yet He kept pointing the finger to God always, and He still went to the cross for you and for me. I love you. You must have a great day. Cheers.